This is the Erik, the Travel Guy podcast.
Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you, Aaron. It is episode 5. I can't believe it. This is a perfect episode for you to take in, because if you are looking for an ideal location, especially someplace incredibly romantic, beautiful, secluded, it's not too early to start planning for Valentine's Day or for any time of the year, well, I have got just the place for you in our vacation VIP spotlight today. Wait until you meet Joshua. You're going to love this place. So that is coming up today. Also, I thought we would do a new segment called Travel Q&A. So do we have a thing for it? All right, here we go. It's Travel Q&A. That's travel question and answer. I'm going to ask a very simple question. I'm going to answer it because these are the questions that you ask me, and so I'm going to ask you. Here it is. What is trip insurance, and do I need it for my next vacation? Very simple question. Not exactly a simple answer, but I will do my best for you here. What is travel insurance or trip insurance? Well, trip insurance or travel insurance is a special insurance policy that you take out specifically for the duration of a vacation. Okay? So it's not associated necessarily with any other policy. There are companies that do this. You just Google travel insurance or trip insurance, and you'll see a comparative who offers it. Okay, what is it? Here's why you might want to get one. Because not all vacations are created equal, but medical emergencies abroad, that's one of the biggest ones, including a medical evacuation. God forbid something should happen to you and you should fall ill while you're overseas. Your health insurance policy stateside may not cover you, or it may not cover all of the expenses. And you want to get back to the U.S. right away. That's how sometimes you'll see it happens. People will get evacuated, medevaced off of cruise ships, or even on commercial flights. They'll get you home right away. Well, you have a travel insurance policy, and that helps with that. Trip cancellation or itinerary interruptions. Now, this is something that you should pay attention to, especially if you have other family members that you are responsible for. Now, this is in an instance when you're traveling, but something happens back home and you need to get back home right away. So nothing has happened necessarily to you, but to a member of your family, and you need to cut that vacation short. Well, you've got an insurance policy that helps cover some of those expenses. Lost or delayed luggage, travel delays, and peace of mind. Those would be the other reasons that you may want to. Now, I wrote an article about this. I'm referencing that article right here. You can see that's on erikthetravelguy.com. How much is it? Okay, well, it's very simple. It's a formula, okay? So the more money you're spending on the vacation, it is dependent upon how much you're spending. So it can be anywhere from like 4% to 10% of your total trip cost, okay? Also, your age has something to do with it, the destination, where you're going, how long you're going to be there, and of course, there's different coverage levels. So you've got some options there. But again, really good peace of mind if you're going on a larger trip and or if you're traveling out of the country. I would suggest getting an insurance policy. So there you go. That's a little travel Q&A. These and other helpful, handy tips can be found on my website at erikthetravelguy.com. Without further ado, we must take a short break because wait until you have seen. I'll show you a picture. Can we put the picture up? I mean, look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? Okay. This is the place that I'm talking about. I'm not going to tell you what it is yet, but you're going to meet my new BFF, Joshua, next here on the Erik the Travel Guy podcast. Stay with us.
This is the Erik the Travel Guy podcast.
Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Aaron, and welcome back to the Erik the Travel Guy podcast. I am Erik Hastings, and as I said to you before, I am so incredibly excited for you to meet this man. His name is Joshua Host. He's the CEO of Antiresort. I have a lot of questions about that. He joins us from El Salvador today. Josh, it's good to meet you, man.
Yeah, it's really an honor to be on. I love what you do, and how you're exposing people to new places and tapping into that travel bug.
Hey, listen, flattery is going to get you everywhere with me, Joshua. I need every interview to start like this.
Yeah, let's keep it rolling then.
All right, you need to tell me about Antiresort. Can we start there? Because, first of
Sure.
all, it's never too early to plan for Valentine's Day, yet do we really need a holiday? Do we need an excuse to go to paradise? The answer is no. So tell me about this resort company. I want to start there.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the big question is, how do you turn 1 ounce of effort into 10 pounds of cure? And so that's been, really my focus in mission is looking at how to build platforms for self-actualization. And so anti-resort, the concept is to essentially create a space so we can help folks to align with their fullest potential. How do you help others give their gifts at the highest level? And so that's where we set out. Our first project was in El Salvador, which at the time when we started was ranked as the most violent country in Central America, but the people were so cute. It was just like dripping in authenticity. It's like the type of place where they invite you to their home for pupusas. And so it just was such in contrast and such a beautiful place. So yeah, really excited to share with you about what Anti-Resort's doing in Mizata in specific.
Well, that's because so that's the name of the resort is Mizata, right?
Yeah, Mizata by Anti-Resort. Yep.
Okay, it's on the coast. If we have a map. I can show you the map because do we fly into San Salvador?
San Salvador. Yeah.
You do. How long's the trip from the airport?
It's like 60 to 90 minutes, depending on traffic.
Easy. And I was surprised at how many nonstop flights there are from the U.S. You've got lots of options on lots of different carriers, so that's got to be a pretty easy flight.
Yeah, it's surprising. Yeah, there's like a total of like 38 direct destinations from El Salvador.
How do you describe Mizata when somebody says, I've never heard of it, I don't have the internet, I had to update Chrome, I can't go online? How do you describe it to them?
So Mizata is set in an ancient Mayan fishing village, nestled in this hardwood jungle. And if you could imagine, so on one side we have this river that flows into a bay, and on both sides there's these two jettison cliffs which create this aperture, and then in front of us we have the ocean, and to the right it feels like almost a private beach where you walk down to the end of the cliff. So it's about a quarter mile there and back, and because we ended up buying the 3 hotels that were here. I created a master plan, really with this focus of how do you create high and low experiences, how do you tap people into culture, how do you give folks like an ability to realign by unplugging and reconnecting with what's important. So it's a beautiful space to do that. Yeah.
But do people really do that? And I mean that sincerely because I think
it's a really good question.
They say they want to, but then they're like, but how's the internet? Is the internet still working? Because I need to get online. It's like, okay, that's not... seriously, but do they come down and say, or do they have to have some sort of like little clutches with them, and yet they shed away the longer they stay?
It's a really good question. So there is some special energy that's here. Like a lot of folks would call it a vortex. It used to be the ancient Mayan tribe that was here was the Nahuatls. And so it was actually known as like a ceremony space. There were several shamans. And I'm not sure if that's the reason why there's so much special energy here. But I know for me in my life, it's been such a transformational space for realignment. And then we just constantly hear that. So like right now we have like 86% of guests that say that their experience was life-changing. So it does seem like that's the feedback we're getting.
But that's an interesting, by the way, are you walking on the treadmill?
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Life hack.
Dude, I'm telling you right now, I hope that for the people that are watching this on YouTube, they're like, this dude is either coming down off of something really cool from lunch. What is he doing? He can't stand still. And yet, here's what's cool. Here's what they're going to learn about you, which I had to learn and love doing it. You are all about healthcare. You are all about taking care of this factory that we are the owners of. And so, of course, we're doing a 10-minute interview, and you're like, yeah, and I can get some steps in while I'm at it, too. I love that. That is so cool, man. That is outstanding. Well, I would think too that when people come to visit, do they know that's what they're looking for? Do they know that they're looking for something, or do they come for fun in the sun and relaxation and I need a spa treatment and like some decent
Yeah.
food and keep the bugs away from me?
Yeah, yeah, there's a big mix as far as why people come,
Yeah,
and we work to meet people where they are. But like no time in history, the amount of stimulus that we get on a daily basis is pretty overwhelming, And so a lot of folks love to take advantage of the digital detox. They love to take advantage of the different ceremonies that we offer, the yoga, meditation, cold plunge, sauna, kind of endless things. And then at the same time, we also have a day club that is kind of the yin and yang energy, and
right.
so you can kind of have both parts, and that's one of the things that we saw as far as to help create opportunity for alignment is also like high and low experiences. It's like hiking to an active volcano, and then it's also having a 5-star omakase experience in front of the ocean. So the
Right.
contrast of those two things.
Well, and again, this is where I'm wondering if someone listening right now, listen, I don't mean to homogenize the audience here or marginalize
Sure.
them, but the rest of us, we work for a living, right? Like we
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
obligations, and we haven't
Yeah.
dedicated our entire lives to taking care of ourselves. We're trying our best, and yet hearing you use the words that you do, I would think that someone would think, gosh, if I go there, I might feel a little out of place. But yet, that's the other reason why it is an actual resort where they don't feel out of place. Even if they thought they were going to, they fit right in, don't they? No matter where they are in their journey.
Yeah, I think the piece for us is just really important to love people as they are. We have
Yeah,
no set expectations. So when you come, there's no judgment. We just
right,
love you, and
right.
that's the whole piece. It's easy to plug in with an open heart, but I think like what's one of the things that is special, like we have a longevity clinic here, for example, so folks that want to delve into it, it's there. We have this wellness, this mindfulness practice that people can plug into. Like tonight, we have a workshop on vulnerable authenticity. And at the same point, we have a day club that's next door. So for folks that are like, I did want to have, drinks on the beach, ride horses, listen to music, said that's there as well too. We have a recording studio. That's the nicest recording studio south of LA. So there's a lot of components for people to dive into based off their own interests.
Is there a particular time of year? Is there a peak season? Is there a value season, shoulder season in terms of the weather? What do you
Yeah.
suggest? What do you tell people?
Well, a lot of it I think is based off what you're looking for. Because even in rainy season, it's pretty much just raining at night. So just because of the way that the surrounding cliffs are set up, and the air pressure, so it does give you all this time. Because even like the rainy season, you have kind of all day, and then the nighttime, you're sleeping, and so you wake up and everything's fresh and it's so green. But I would say high season is really like November through April, and then you look at kind of lower season is like March through August. But then that's when we have a lot of folks that are coming for summer. They're
Right.
coming for retreats. Like we have a retreat venue, so we have like 2 retreats a month with external hosts as well too. So yeah.
How long do you recommend, especially on a first timer, to really get? And I say that because again, we're busy, we have things to do, but we
Yeah, of
also
course.
want to get the most out of it, and we
Yeah.
really want to. If we're going to go, let's go. How long?
Yeah, I think if you get a week in here, it's transformational. If that's too much, at least if you can get in 5 days. But I think there's a lot of things like we understand that time is somewhat limited for a lot of folks based off their uh, real world responsibilities. So but yeah, I think 5 days at a minimum, 7 days optimal, 12 days. You're really going home with a
You
special
know,
gift.
on this program, and certainly just about every travel video I've ever made since 2007, we talk a lot about the fact that people need to get off their couch And frankly, I don't care where they go as long as they go. And they got to get out there, and they're going to keep going and keep going and keep going. And I say, and the reason is because you never know which one of these trips is going to change your life forever.
Yeah.
And I think that there's something to be said for that.
For
I
sure.
think that you can stand in front of, Trevi Fountain and look at the detail of that
Totally.
craftsmanship and just go, oh my gosh. At the same time, what you're doing down there, Joshua, it seems to me like you're sort of stacking the deck a little bit. You're kind of helping out. You might as well help out in a gorgeous environment that is close to nature. It really, you talk about putting your bare feet on the ground and not the cement. You're really helping people do that, and I would imagine that's what they tell you when they send you notes. Is that what they say? What do they say when they say we just got back, Josh? We got to tell you all about what happened. What do they say?
Yeah, that's a fuel for our team, is reading through reviews and getting firsthand feedback of guests that are leaving, with life-changing outcomes. That's a fuel for the team for sure.
I love it. I have to say, I'm incredibly interested in, are there other resorts like this in the world?
Yeah, I think, each place has its own unique style. And so, I think there certainly are other places that provide some level of balance of interest. But, what's so unique, I think, right now about El Salvador and about Mizata is it's so uncommercialized. It's so authentic. It's like Costa Rica 20 years ago, but actually we have better roads even now. And so it's just a beautiful touch point in time to be able to experience it. And, it's like kind of come back to your one point, like the way that we see it is like every guest that comes is on their hero's journey, right? And then we just look at ourselves as guides as far as part of their story, of like how we can help the hero to that life-changing outcome. So there's all these fun side quests along the way as they're going through this discovery. And then with the goal at the end of it is just them giving their gifts at the highest level.
Are some people concerned that they're going to be bored?
Oh my gosh.
I'm just asking because or by the time they get there, they already know. Like, what do they know before they get there?
Yeah, I mean, we really focus on sharing kind of the a direct understanding of like what it's going to look like, that experience. So usually people understand, they're pretty clear. There's a lot of messaging going into it. We have dedicated concierge. So usually it's people know already what they're going to do, and we design the full itinerary for them as well. So concierge really digs in with them to be able to make that happen.
I was on the website. I did note it is immersive. I think that's very smart to do because, not everything is for everybody. And let's be very clear that there's a percentage of people watching and listening to you. This isn't going to be right for you. However, I will say, based on what I can see, and I've not been there, so, maybe I'll come down and visit sometime. I think you and I have a lot of fun together. For some reason,
yeah, we'd love that. Anytime, man. Come on down.
I just think we'd
have so much fun. We'd have so much fun. Adventure time. Yeah.
Adventure time. Oh, the guys love hearing Adventure time. But I would think that even though somebody would be listening right now going, maybe that's not for me, I think people would be very surprised how much, even if you think it's not for you, how much it actually is. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? Like,
100%.
I would encourage someone who say, "Oh gosh, that's out in nature." I'm kind of a nature light kind of. I'm more of a glamper than a camper. It's like, no, dude, you're missing the point. Go online, look around a little bit, and you'll start to see it's difficult to describe. I would say, I put it that way. Even though you've done a brilliant job, Josh, but I'm just saying, I think people would be very surprised. Don't you think?
At the end of the day, we don't even understand what's possible, right? And so I think that's the point. Show me how good it can get. And so that's like the team here. Like everybody's so loving, mission driven, and we're just trying to figure out like how are we going to create the most stoke in your life? And so that journey of people coming and that self-discovery, I think there's some sort of magic there we watch happen. And I think the less expectations that people have, the more opportunity there is for discovery.
Well, and I think, but it also, you do have to show up, right? Like you can't just say, I want to do this and then push it off and don't do it. You can't, I'll tell you, and we're 15 minutes into this, so anybody who doesn't care has already left anyway. So frankly, it doesn't matter to me. But I'll tell you right
we're
now.
talking to the right audience now.
Whatever, right? You know what I mean? Like, exactly. We'll get down to just the 15 of us. It's fine. But listen, if I get one person to go somewhere, it's a win for me. But when we were in the Azores and we were shooting an episode of Beyond Your Backyard, you will appreciate this. We were supposed to go, I think, climbing up a waterfall. Okay? That was going to be
Sounds exciting. Sounds exciting.
This is right up your alley. Someone like you shows up and says, okay, well, it's raining, so we can't, it's too dangerous to do the climbing up the thing. And they said, but we think we should have you jump off this cliff. Okay? Now, I'm wearing a wetsuit in the rain, and I'm sure, we're going to, and of course the crew is like, this is not Erik's cup of tea at all. But I'm like, well, I'm already in the wetsuit. We're already here. We flew all the way the hell over here. We're doing it.
Here we go.
And it's not like we had to hike, 8 miles to the freaking thing anyway. It was across through the parking lot. Like, the guy's like, so they get up there, right? And I said, well, how high is the cliff? And he's like, because it's nothing. It's like 8 feet. I was like, okay. Now, I'm sure you've experienced this, but this was new to me. And no, I haven't done it since. We get up there, and I'm standing there, and the crew is here. There's cameras everywhere. And I'm like, this isn't 8 feet. And he goes, well, yes, it is. But when you add 8 feet and then 6 feet to your eye line, it's 8 feet to your feet. But 8 plus 6 is 14, and it does look a little different at 14 feet. And I was a little scared.
Yeah.
But I did it, and I loved it.
I love that.
Loved it.
Yeah.
The very
why did you love it? Why did you love it? Like, what about that created the experience for you?
Look, I'm not one of the, and I don't think you are either, but one of these adrenaline junkie kind of, I would call them just kind of freaks of nature, which I love them for, but I'm not that way. That's not interesting to me. I think it had something to do with not just the accomplishment, but doing something that is out of your comfort zone. Yeah. It wasn't so far off that it was just off-putting. I need therapy afterwards, but enough that I'm telling you about it, and that was probably 5 years ago, because that left a mark somewhere.
Yeah.
This is doable.
I think that's what we see as well too. It's like where people do something that they didn't know they could do, and where there's that brush of fear where they're developing on their fear practice, and then all of a sudden they come up with that. It's like, well, if I could do that, what else can I do?
Right. When we were shooting in Cozumel, you mentioned the Mayans, and the only reason I mentioned this is because, again, I'm hoping somebody will go, okay, if someone like me can really get through this, they can too, and they'll find there's lots of on the other side. But I can't remember what we were supposed to do, but it got whatever, and they said, well, we're going to go talk with this spiritual healer, and I was like, okay, well, that could be television death. That could. We have to make a TV show. It's not. I was like, we'll just try it. We'll try it because we don't have to use it. To this day, if you watch that episode in Cozumel, it was our second season. It was one of the most meaningful, most interesting 10 minutes of the entire season, in my opinion. Yeah. And why? Where did it come from? It came by chance. It came by accident. Because, of course, there are no accidents. So I'm sure you would agree. This is amazing.
Not. Yeah. It's just perpetual serendipity.
Thank you for this, Joshua. I'm so glad I got a chance to meet you. I'm so glad you're doing what you're doing. We haven't even gotten to healthcare, so you should come back and talk about anytime somebody's dealing with AI and healthcare. That's interesting to me. So let's do that sometime, shall we?
It's an honor to be on with you, and I love what you're doing. Yeah, it's so beautiful as far as to help folks open their horizons and just see different opportunities to plug in. So it's cool spending time with you, Erik. You are a catalyst.
This always happens. This happens all the time. As I said in the interview, it happens all the time. You run into these people. You have no idea what the expectation is. I assume that Josh knew what he was talking about. For heaven's sakes, he's the CEO of his own company. But of course, it's 1,000 times more interesting than I could have possibly imagined. So thank you, Joshua Host, for doing this today. I couldn't be happier. Thank you for watching. Don't forget, I'll put the links up at ericthetravelguy.com. Go check out this resort. I think you will, I think you will be pleasantly surprised how transformative a stay can be. Have a wonderful week, and we'll talk to you next time. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in line of security.
This is the Erik the Travel Guy podcast.